Why you are not your thoughts. A journey into awareness. Have you ever felt like a prisoner inside your own mind? You wake up, and the voice is already there, narrating your life, judging your choices, and whispering fears about a future that hasn't even happened. It tells you that you aren't good enough, that you should have said something different yesterday, or that something terrible is just around the corner. We often live our lives as if this internal monologue is the ultimate truth. We believe that if we think a thought, it must be us. But what if I told you that you are not the voice in your head? What if you are the one who hears it? Consider the story of a young man named Cale. Cale lived in a world of constant mental noise. He was a talented musician, but he rarely enjoyed his music. Every time he played a note, a voice in his mind would critique it. Too sharp, it would say. You'll never be as good as the masters. This voice followed him everywhere, to work, to his relationships, and into his dreams. Cale felt like a man trapped in a room with a roommate who never stopped screaming. He was exhausted by his own mind, believing that his anxious thoughts were the very essence of his soul. One morning, Cale sought out an old teacher named Master Lin, who lived by a great, roaring waterfall. Cale found her sitting perfectly still, watching the water crash against the rocks. "Master," Cale said, his voice trembling with frustration, "how do I make the noise stop? My thoughts are destroying my life. They tell me I am a failure, and I believe them because they are in my head. If they are in my head, they must be me, right?" Master Lin didn't answer immediately. She picked up a small wooden bowl and filled it with water from the stream. She handed it to Cale. "Look into the water," she said. "What do you see?" "I see my reflection," Cale replied. Then Master Lin threw a small pebble into the bowl. The surface rippled, and Cale's reflection became distorted and shattered. "And now?" she asked. "The reflection is broken," Cale said. "It's chaotic." "The water is still there, Cale," she said softly. "The ripples are just a temporary movement on the surface. You have spent your life looking at the ripples and calling them the water. Your thoughts are the ripples. Your awareness, the part of you that sees the ripples, is the water. This is the core of presence and the foundation of all spiritual wisdom. In the modern world, we suffer from what psychologists call cognitive fusion. This is when we become so entangled with our thoughts that we cannot tell where the thought ends and the self begins. We think, "I am a failure," instead of, "I am noticing a thought that says I am a failure." That tiny gap, that sacred distance, is where your freedom lives. To find peace, you must first master the art of detachment. You must realize that your mind is a thought-producing machine, much like your lungs are oxygen processing machines. You don't identify with your breathing as being your soul, so why do you identify with every fleeting thought? Thoughts are simply mental events. They are like clouds moving across a vast sky. Some are light and fluffy, others are dark and heavy with rain. But no matter how dark the cloud, it cannot touch the blue of the sky. You are the sky. The second pillar of this journey is metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking when a painful thought arises. Instead of running from it or fighting it, you simply label it. There is a worry. By naming the thought, you stop being the thought. You move from being the character in the movie to being the person sitting in the audience. This is the ultimate form of control. You may not be able to stop the projector from running, but you can choose not to believe the story on the screen. Master Lin told Cale, "You cannot stop the waterfall from falling, but you can step behind the water. You can stand in the dry space behind the curtain of foam and watch the water move without being swept away by it." Cale began to practice this. When he played his music and the critical voice started to shout, he would pause. He would breathe and say to himself, "I hear a thought about failure." By doing this, he realized that the thought had no power of its own. It only had power because he gave it his attention and his belief. Slowly, the roommate in his head didn't disappear, but the shouting turned into a whisper. Cale found that he could play his music with a quiet heart. even if the thoughts were still drifting by. This journey is about returning to awareness. Most of us live our lives in a state of psychological sleep, reacting to every impulse and every memory. But when you wake up to your true nature as the observer, the world changes. You realize that you have a sanctuary within you that is forever silent, forever still, and forever at peace. This is the healing that the world cannot give you because the world didn't take it away. You simply forgot it was there. Think about your thoughts right now. Are they serving you? Or are they masters that you are serving? You have the power to change your relationship with your mind. You don't need to change what you think. You only need to change who you are in relation to your thoughts. As you go through your day, practice being the silent witness. When you feel a surge of anger, fear, or inadequacy, do not follow the thought down the rabbit hole. Stand still. Imagine yourself as the deep, quiet water beneath the ripples. Say to yourself, I am the awareness in which this thought appears. You are not your anxiety. You are not your past. You are not the labels that society or your own mind has placed upon you. You are the vast, beautiful, and empty space that allows all things to be. Trust the silence, trust the observer. For in the heart of awareness, you will find that you are already whole, you are already free, and you are already home.